Are you looking to become a Tier 1 operator in the gaming world? Elevate your games with Black Site Studio Terrain.
Hey guys, Mr. Scoreback, see you're already in the house. Cheers for coming on, buddy. Welcome to another View and a Brew with Gaz. So tonight we are continuing the saga that has become the African Militia from Spectre Miniatures. The enemy forces, I suppose, is the best term, or insurgents for the upcoming 13 days equals 13 hours. Gianna is looking forward to playing this, as is Marty, actually, and Chris. Op Force, yeah. So I've gone with another, what I would call a dicker again. These are the guys that have mobile phones, they keep an eye out, watch vehicle convoys, etc. This guy could be an initiator as well, as in laid an IED, and he's trying to use the phone, depending on what capability they've got to block it. There's a good chance he'll cause some damage. So what to do today? We're seeing there's a lot of caps in this force. We're back to trainers again as well. So the loafers are out, the trainers are in, and we've got an old person's jumper on, but look at it. It must be pretty cold out there at some time. But not a lot of skin, which is always a boon. I'll take it. And yeah, we'll have a play. So what to do with this guy today? I've changed coins. We're up to a larger Turkish coin now. Why? Because I forgot to unstick the other coins from the two models I painted the other day. So therefore, I was in a panic. I just stuck a new one on. Mr. Jim, thank you for popping in. Team SitRep forming in the house as well. So I'm thinking Griffin Charger Grey for the trainers, which is sort of a grey stroke white. Then I'm going to have a play with some Dark Angels Green for the trousers. It's kind of a darker sort of combat fatigue. From there, the jumper, well, it's a big old woolly sort of jumper. So I'm going to go with a brown. That'll stop Gianna watching, or make Gianna watch and get me in trouble, because she loves browns. And for the cap, I'm just going to go with one of the darker greys, essentially, not quite black, that we've been using for some of them. And that's I had to read it twice, Basilicanum grey. I've definitely not used that before, and the reason I say that is I had to read the label twice just to even recognise what the word was. So definitely not used this one before, so that'll be interesting. On top of that, no weapons on this guy, so we'll give him a mobile phone. It'll just be white with a sort of grey screen, bit of shine on it. And the skin colours are the usual suspects that we use, or I use even. So I'm going to start the bottom up, and we're going to chuck on some Griff Charger Grey. So weekend's about to start. Hope everybody's in a good place. Got some hobby planned for the weekend. We are now, I think officially, all wars, all times, all history, all good stuff. We are now a wargaming community, rather than just a modern wargaming community. And yeah, that's really opened up the doors of Hades, so we can, or Hades, depending on how you like to say it, so we can pull warriors from throughout history. Have a look at how they fell and what they did, etc., etc. It's going to be some good times ahead. Definitely feeling it. Love the idea of expanding into all sorts of history. Just checking that, yep, the feet are in shot. If you ever find it's just a little out of focus or anything, and it's not because I've changed the height to paint one specific part, but just generally, just bang as a message, and I will test and adjust, so the military jargon goes. I was quite lucky today. I had like an inspection of my accommodation, so I didn't have to go to work, because the guys that were coming arrived sort of just after 9 o'clock, and on Friday today the plan was to finish at lunch. So yeah, I've had I say an easy morning. I've been taking people around my accommodation and getting it inspected, which is always nice. I say accommodation, it's not barracks. It's kind of military accommodation that's in the town because we haven't got enough accommodation on camp. So some of us live out essentially, which is very, very cool. This coat's really nice actually. So before this dries out, I'm just going to clean that brush. I'm going to switch to the smaller brush just to make sure I get it into the recesses. Because there's some, as you can see when you look down at the front, for example, you can see all those lovely shoelace lines. I want to make sure that the contrast is where I want it to be. So yeah, history's been on my mind pretty much on and off all week. Where to begin? We were chatting about it in various other podcasts and videos that we've done, and it's still quite a intimidating thing to do. I think the next thing I'll be painting, I say think, I know the next thing I'll be painting for us now is going to be White Dragon Miniatures. I forgot the name of the actual game. They do British and they call them Taliban forces, but essentially it's the insurgent element of the Taliban forces, because I don't like to call them Taliban because there's lots of really nice Taliban, because it just means student. So yeah, really looking forward to. I'm just pulling it away from the sneakers a bit so I can see if it's got to where I want it to be. Really looking forward to picking them up. I picked some up for G a while back. That was the first time so I had to really look at the models. They are really nice. So we'll be getting in amongst it. I know Skullcat wants to do contact front. There you go. I think it's contact front. Skirmish Sanguine. He doesn't have a rule set. They're just White Dragon's a British company. In fact, I think he's ex. I want to say he's a scaly back. I think he's a signaller. I'm not 100%. I know he's ex-military because I did chat with him at a show a couple of years back. But yeah, nice guy. Does some lovely minis. So, well, you'll see. Even better. There will be looking soon for an example after the. I think I've got 4 more of these guys after this one. And then I think we still need. Hey guys. At least I know who it is now when you say hello to me. So, jumping into the Dark Angels green. Again, this is another contrast. It's going to throw this straight onto the trousers. And we'll see how it sits. Yeah, I don't know if I want British or... I don't know if I want the good guys or the bad guys. Or the bad guys and the good guys, depending on how you look at the... from which side of the conflict you look at it from. Ooh, this is nice. It's got a lot of pigment in it. Being British military forces and having been over there a few times, there's some really nice miniatures that represent very closely the equipment and the makeup of squads that you would have had out there. So that's very cool. In fact, Ralph, one of my other oppos from SitRep, hello Mr. Ralph, wherever you are out there in the ether of the internet, he's also looking at doing some of their minis, or has already got them. And we were discussing on Skype, they have a number of head options and which ones he's gone for. And I was trying to think which ones I wanted to go for. They have the sort of the para helmet, which is, it's got a real tight sort of webbing net on normally, with either sniper tape or a form of sort of heat shrink edge. Not being a para, I'm not exactly sure. But 16 Air Assault Brigade were who we were attached to for a long time, and served with them out on that tour. So yeah, I recognise the sort of the gear and the equipment, which was really cool. The second option is just like a plain Mark. I think it was Mark. I want to say 6 when we went out. It was 7 by the time we finished. It was either, I think we went through 6 and 6 alphas while we were out there as well. Although I don't know what the front line had, because us being a form of camp rat, so to speak, we might not have had the gear that the guys who were regularly in contact had, which is normally the case, to be honest. But yeah, we will endeavour to get a set of them. Oh, third option. Hey, helps if I tell you all the options first. Third option, Scrim, which I really like, so that's what I'm going to go with. So sort of a standard infantry one where you have, well, on that tour it was actually torn up sections of MTP pattern, trousers, shirts, whatever was handed in and tired. They tore it up into even size strips, and we would tie that into the helmet netting scrim to break up a shape, which gives you some really nice painting opportunities to individually paint. Yeah, that's a thought. It'd be easier just to have Mark 7 helmets and paint them black. That's a very good question. Why does he look like a 1920s cricket umpire? Maybe this is the height of fashion in Libya. Maybe 1920. Maybe that's where they were at that year. He's even got the edge to the jumper look. Maybe that's what Spectre wanted him to double up as, just in case you're running a crack team of contractors through a cricket pitch after enemy forces. Because let's be honest, in stuff like Mission Impossible now, a lot of them are based in the UK at some point, and yeah, we still do have the odd cricket pitch out there. The umpire probably filmed them so he can report them to the police and grumble about them to his neighbours and friends when he got home. Never mind the fact they were armed. Football reference here, a red card. That's a thick red card, dude. Maybe they slapped the side of their face with it for being bad people, and that was part of getting the red card back then. That certainly wiped the taste out of your mouth, I tell you. So we got the base colour down for the trousers. Those trainers, they are trainers, work really well with that green. So we can get the colour onto camera better. Yeah, it's a really deep, strong green. I like that. The last one I used on the combat jackets and such is more of a what you'd associate with a sort of 70s, 80s war vet, worn, tired sort of green jacket. But this guy's quite nice. Let's jump in on the browns, eh? This shouldn't. I'm about to say this shouldn't be going this quick, but just so I don't curse myself. But I've literally said it before I thought about what I was saying. So I've gone for a dark brown jumper. I'm umming and ahhing about doing some striping on it, going across just to break up the well, everything really. So what I've learned definitely with these browns is I started to push them around laterally last time. They don't like that. I don't know if it's because it's a darker colour. The black's very different. Your black you can do a lot with and get away with, but the brown seems to like the up-down motion and just finding its own way into the recesses. So I'm going to try and stick it with that this time. I had to do sort of a lot of highlight on the last one to sort of give it back the depth and such. Red and black stripes. See, I was thinking red and cream because of the brown. Red and black's not a bad shout. I just wanted to, yeah, we can chuck that around and see what you guys think. You know what? We're just going to zoom in a little bit. Famous last words, so you can see how much I'm screwing this up properly. I was painting a larger model earlier today, so for quite a while, maybe 3 hours. So I think I've adjusted the zoom to accommodate the extra size. Now we're back on a smaller model set. I haven't brought it back. Something I've not really done that much with the contrasts yet, unless I've wanted to make sure that they're thin, is use the thinning medium. I have used it, it is good, does the job excellent. I'm thinking the more I use these browns, the more I think they need a bit of that, just to allow them to stay wet longer and be manipulated more. This brown works really well for a jumper because it's, let's just get this collar at the top. I'm not too worried about going on the neck yet because, as we always say, the base coat that we use for the skin is a base, so therefore it will cover pretty much anything in 1 or 2 coats, so I can afford to be a bit sloppy near the top for now. That's terminology you don't always want to hear, but hey. So I'm going to go to the smaller brush to do the bottom of the jumper for obvious reasons. We don't want green and brown trousers. Nobody likes brown trousers in any format, whether self-made or not. Happy weekend to everyone from Jim. Jim's doing a 1975 anniversary Battle of Iwo Jima on Sunday. If you check out our Facebook page, SitRep Podcast, you will see the timings for that. That's going to be a cool day for Jim. Jim's going to be loving it. I think he's using, is it Victory and Valor? Valor and Victory system for it as well. Navy, I believe. We're going to be seeing some long barrel action. It's going to be interesting times. So pop online and or on Twitch. I think it'll be linked off Facebook as well. And get in there, get some comments on, see how Jim's put that together. Very cool. So yeah, Brit forces are next, or Taliban. What really makes the Taliban appeal to me is the fact they have RPG guys riding on the back of sort of cheap motorcycles, and the model is lovely. I think I'd rather have that over a vehicle. I need to get into airbrushing, but I've got some dust stuff for that, so I can potentially use the sorry, I don't need to use the British forces to sort of get my hands on something that I can spray. Plus, if it had a Husky, I'd have British. I love the Huskies. The Huskies just what I think would be a great vehicle to drive on the road, because they're massive, they can have huge armor plating. I always love the air ride sort of suspension system, so they can raise and lower themselves as well. Good for maintenance and good for getting a comfortable ride while in a heavily armoured vehicle. Yeah, the Husky gets a Gaz thumbs up of approval as far as military vehicles go. And it's a big old wide thing as well. It's not a well, I was about to say it's not a truck, but I have to remember I have my compatriots from the other side of the pond, and their versions of trucks and our versions of trucks may be different. It's a pickup truck, a truck. Hence, pickup truck. Because to me, it's just a pickup. Or a flatbed. A truck is like a semi, as you would call it. What we would call articulated. Valor and Victory. There you go. 2nd Battalion, 28th Marines versus 109th Division of the Imperial Japanese Army. Sweet. I'll be on, Jim. We're telling you, you know, all the things that you're doing wrong in your own rules. No, like, I don't even know the rules. Jim did a cool episode the other night with the guys doing the RPG stuff for HK Ops. That was cool. So that's the majority of the model. Wait, we finished? No. We're going to try this grey on the hat. Or the cap, whatever you want to call it. I might as well stick with a small brush. It's not a huge surface area. I'll just load it up a bit. There we go. Load it up too much like that. But yeah, it's going to be good to see all these models go to the table. It's rare, I think, you get to see that many minis on a table. Because, admittedly, I don't think all 60 enemy forces will be on the table at once. But we have that option. Or we may have that option, depending if we do some waves or not. But from my understanding, I mean, G and Marty have been smashing it as well. So I think I've got 13 and they've got 27 as it stands. So that's 40 models on the board. And then friendlies as well. So you've got the likes of the Feb 17 forces will be on there. My that was quite funny. My Kindle Fire just thought I said a certain word relating to activating a help system that's built into it. I was about to say it again, but it just beeped again. Wouldn't it, Alexa? See? Great times. This reminds me of that. Oh, it could very well be true. I call them memes, but I've been corrected by my friend Joe to say that they're memes. Because a meme is something, and it is not what I'm talking about. And it's the one where the wife asks the husband, I imagine it's America or Russia, why he's carrying the gun in the house. And he goes, because of the Decepticons, honey. She laughs. He laughs. The toaster laughs. He shot the toaster. Good times. I don't tell jokes very often. That's probably not a joke, and it's certainly not a good one, but I like it. Kids have better jokes than I do, and that's saying something. Because they have terrible jokes. But I find them funny. So I just put a bit of water on just to... In fact, I should have put the medium on. Just to move some of this stuff around. It's still wet. Got it right over the top of his ear. So we got the flat colours down. That was quite quick. I don't know what I've been doing wrong all these times. So we're going to come back to the trainers straight away. I'm going to do the laces white and then have another look at it. And for that, we're just going to chuck on some white scar. This is where I got it all over my finger the other day, which was really helpful. I should have cleaned the pot. I wish I have it now, because I'm probably going to do the exact same thing again. Because I'm good like that. I learn from all these lessons. Or not. Let's get some white up and running. Thinned it down on the palette. Oh. I'm actually going to carry on my paint organisation. In some of the other videos, one of the other videos, we're painting laces, so I might go quiet for a second or two. In fact, where are the raised bit of the laces? How many is there? 1, 2, 4, 1, 2. They're so close together, it's actually difficult to identify which is the up and which is the down. One, ta-da. Jim, how do we thread laces? You're the expert. Start at the bottom. That's too thin. It's not holding the... So in that case there, it was so thin that it wouldn't hold on the lace line. So I'm going to get a little bit fresh, put it somewhere else. I'll use that white to fill out the trainers instead. So I'll let that dry on that side. We will switch to side number 2, also known as the left. Wow, this is a fat brush day today. Yeah, my mic's not broke. I just can't do two things at once because I'm a person that's also known as a bloke. Left over right is a Marine Corps standard. I doubt this guy lives his days by the US Marine Corps uniform regs. He's got the trousers, and he's got the trousers. I quite like the trainer look, actually. Yeah, that's cool. Sweet. This actually seems to be quite a good colour to... Let's just sort that out a second. Back to the really watery stuff. To give you that sort of... Oh my god, that's not just watery, that's practically not paint. I'm just going to dab it on to lighten it up in places then. This is what happens when you water stuff down too much. So just put a bit on, take the excess off with a tissue, or in my case, consume it. I don't advise that at home, even though these are water-based soluble paints. They may not be safe to consume. Just get that in there quickly. They may result in death, paralysis, blindness, who knows. Just don't eat paint, children. Till you get to my age, and then you honestly don't care. I am the youngest member of the SitRep team other than Joey. And Joey's like a part-timer, really, so I'm going to take that. Jim is by far the oldest member of the team. The fact that what he's writing about in Iwo Jima is when he was serving is proof of that. Excuse me. Sorry, I was choking, trying to not laugh out loud. Also known as laughing out loud, when it comes to a video anyway. So we're just touching in the gaps, trying to keep the darker areas dark, the lighter areas light. Painting's not rocket science, it's just about being able to do it. Most of the time we can't. That is historically untrue. Yeah, no worries, Gareth. See you shortly. Jim, do you have any family that was served in World War II? My granddad served at Anzio. In fact, he lost, was it part of his foot? I want to say he lost part of his foot, but he may have lost his foot there. And then he needed to have an operation because of infection. It went further and further. And by the end, whether it was immediately after or shortly thereafter, they amputated from below the hip, essentially. So, yeah, unfortunately, I never really met him because he passed away before I was born. But I do remember my dad talking about him. Samuel. My middle name is his namesake. Gareth Samuel Briley. Essentially, I'm third generation military. Even though I've never been a pad brat, or what we would call a pad brat, which is, the people that live on the patch. Okay, so that base colour of whatever it was, grey, that I didn't know the name of, works really well for trainers. So it gives you that lovely contrast. There's almost an off-edge line of the grey when you keep the white away from it. I'm very happy with that as a base colour for trainers. That will be going into the Gazzy's brain of what to use to paint stuff, which I should really start. We used to have what was called brains at work. It's where you have all your cheat sheets, your knowledge, so that you can lend it to somebody that's going away, and I left mine on the last Afghan tour for somebody to borrow who never brought it back, and I never saw it again. So I have had to rebuild that bad boy. But who knows what I forgot? It's like one of them rememballs from Harry Potter. You only know it tells you you've lost something, but you don't know what it was you bloody lost. Marbles in my case. A couple. Great uncle at Utah. Another in CBI theatre in Egypt. Another passed away in the Merchant Navy. And shit with some Bayou boat. Bloody hell. Yeah, there you go. That'd be a cool thing to sort of look up and maybe base some of our, Let's Plays and such on. Is family history, if it's not too close to the bone, or upsetting. Because you're kind of at the same time as, yes, playing a game, so to speak, but you're sort of investing in your family's history that way as well. Be a nice, well, in my opinion, it'd be a nice homage to those fallen. China, Burma, Indian theatre. Good. I'm glad you saw me stumble on that, because I was, in the background, my grey matter was doing a search of my actual brain for what CBI was. A theatre that's definitely not covered very well from an Allied perspective, I would say. You rarely even hear it mentioned, like many. I'll tell you what we should do, Jim. We should definitely get into some Gurkha stuff. I can speak to some of the lads at work, get some good gen on the that obviously Sunday you're doing Iwajuan and the Japanese versus the Gurkhas was definitely in a few of the theatres over that end. There's some impressive tales from both sides, to be fair. Cool. So we're all trained up. Happy days. Got to have a look now for a green to do a bit of Yab Gurkhas for Fallen Victory. Well, I feel a game coming on, don't you? So those trainers look, I'm very happy with them. They're top line Nike Air kickers, if I've ever seen a set. Cool, greens. Let's have a look what I've got in dark-ish greens. So I want to bring up the green a little bit. Ooh, that's a bit... You know what, I think if it's thin enough, I might get away with it. We're about to find out. Yes, that's me shaking. Luckily I'm far enough away from the table that it's not actually shaking the model. Cabalite green. It's kind of it does look a very punchy green. I'm kind of worried about this, I'm not going to lie. But, see what I mean? It's a very different green. So I'm going to dab a bit on the palette in the corner, so if it's all bad, it's not going to screw up everywhere else. It's quite thin to begin with, actually, even though I gave it a reasonable shake. It's definitely not one I've used much, so that's probably why. It's probably started to separate. So I've got a nice thin, and I'm just going to... where to start? Just to do a test piece. Just near the knee, I think. Oh no, that's alright. It's not killing the green at all. Cool. I was worried it'd just cover so heavy that we'd lose the work that the contrast has done, essentially. From a bolt action perspective, I hate Gurkhas. They're fine, just don't let them get into combat, dude. I've known many Gurkhas over the years, and I love them all. They're mega guys. I remember one of the staff on the pre-op tour training package. We did sort of pairs fire maneuver drills down the roads. Just preparation for dealing with sniper, observers, etc. Moving down the road. And you were supposed to move a certain distance. And and then do a sort of a fight. Well, move a certain distance, become engaged by a sniper. Sniper takes out a guy. You're in sort of section level. He's fairly far down the road, and you do a fight and retreat, and that was the training for that, because it was more generic than anything else. And the guys with us, they just carried on down the road and went up into the building and took the guy out, and then came back all smiles. And only when they were bounding so fast in pairs fire maneuver that the DS couldn't catch him before they got to the building, and it was a good couple hundred meters away. And he was shouting the whole way down, and they were just like, they came back all sheepish because he'd give them a right chewing out. And it wasn't so much, part of it was because they'd gone down the street, and part of it was because when he said, "What do you think you were doing?" he goes, "Well, we don't go backwards, we go and kill enemy." Yeah, and he lost his, he lost it a little bit with them. But we all found it hilarious. And they were good. Good skills and drills, so to speak. This green actually coats really well over what we started with. It brings up the colour nicely. I can see this being really good for allowing the shadows to stay shadowed, which I've done. I've not gone towards the inside of legs too far. So we're going to roll it round the majority of the thigh. It's surprising. I always am interested to see when you pick up a colour, and when you initially look at it you think, well, there's no way that's gonna work with that without doing a bad coating. Is he taking a selfie? I love cheese. I love cheese. Who's I love cheese then? Is it somebody I know? I have a problem. I don't have a problem with cheese. Uh, as I say to the lads at work who all call me an idiot for saying it, I don't like raw cheese. So I like cheese when it's cooked. Not so much a bigger fan of just cutting it and putting it on a cracker. Speaking of which, I should really get something to eat at some point. Today. Don't worry, I can't starve to death in a single 24-hour period. If you've seen me, you'll know that to be a fact. What I might do is have to get my can of pop that I've just remembered I forgot because it's in the fridge. Not that that's food, but it would be nice to have a drink. Weirdo, sorry. You're not wrong. I've definitely heard that many a time. So yeah, I like pizza. Who doesn't like pizza? Is that one of those? Pretty much nearly everybody likes pizza, unless even those that are not supposed to eat it due to health concerns and possible, aspiration. My friend at work's lactose. Well, one of my friends at work, he's now posted out. He's lactose intolerant, but he still can't help himself when it comes to certain ice creams, and then just suffers for a day or two afterwards and says it's worth it every time. That's Jack. Hey, Jack. He won't be watching. I'm safe. So the model I've got two models out of the ones left I'm really looking forward to. One's like this spiky haired dude with shades on, and that one might be my checkered pattern shirt guy if I go for it, Jim. I'm not going to make any promises. Still think Marty should do it. I did the basketball thing the other day, jersey. I was about to say jumper, but it's not a jumper. See, it's really punchy when you put it on quite thick. I can't tell because I'm looking at two like little versions of the screen to see what the colours look like on them. And I've got a twitch off to my left on there as well. Don't much about modelling, but looks pretty neat. Cheers, dude. I'll do that. Who knows? To be honest, it's just trying to stick to the raised areas with it, thicken up areas. Avoid the gaps that you've already darkened. Bit more water in the paint. But I'm looking forward to the game now. I don't think we've set a date yet for it. I think it's just a case of working through. The table's still got to be built for the attack on the, I was about to say the annex, but it's actually the compound. Jim's bust his ass and got done the transit game stuff, which is lovely. And again, you can see him building those specifically and the final results on the some of the back episodes. Sit right. For the no one has to do a checkered shirt. Does this mean it's 900? That was that the 9632, or are we now at 9633 for? Do we have to do a checkered shirt? Haven't you done a checkered shirt? I always feel obliged. You see, you were kind enough to do our flip flops for us. You put flip flops. Some of the models have got a few of the models have got flip flops on them. Cool. So we just brought up the colour of the trousers, you see, and it's sat where it needs to be. We've left the dark areas dark, and yeah, that's worked really well. I'm actually surprised at that. It picks up on camera nice, which is a big problem we have with some of the other stuff. What I am going to do is, where's that green? 1, 2. So on the back of the trousers here, you see how it goes all the way in? I don't want that. I've gone a little too far. I lost track. Blue flip flops for the win. Woohoo! Can draw sculpt, or is it a completely different skill? Are you talking about 3D CAD design, or are you talking about physically picking up a sculpting tool and an object of clay, for example? That is my question. So all I'm doing here is I'm putting the contrast back in to darken down on the inside of the legs where I went too far with my colour. And the nice thing is the contrast will easily coat over it, being a contrast paint, which is heavy. Oh no, does it matter? Yes, it definitely does matter. So my friend Shane is a artist on places like DeviantArt and ArtStation. Used him a while back when we had our own company, and he does some absolutely lovely stuff. He draws digitally, so he uses a lot of the tools that are very similar to CAD, as in a tablet that he draws on. Uses not a stencil, stylus. Stencil would be quite funny. Uses a stylus to generate his images. So when it came to CAD design, when he had to play with that, he was actually quite good at it. He just needed to get acquainted with CAD, but the drawing and the concept and the perception of how he applies his skills to a physical art piece through electronic devices meant that what he produced on CAD was very usable straight away. Now, physical sculpting, he would understand, but having never physically done it, I imagine he would have struggled a lot more. They probably have a good idea. Well, they know what they need to do. They just haven't practiced that particular skill set. Whereas, like I say, digital drawing and design, they would already be used to drawing on forms of tablets and stuff. Okay, jumper. Do I do the... might as well try this stripy thing now. That way when it goes wrong I can just call it quits and go backwards. So let's put the green away. So I'm going to stick with red and cream because that's kind of what I had set aside. In my head it's already that, so I've got an idea. But do I do cream over red or red over cream? What do you reckon, guys? What should be the top colour of my... So the idea is to try and do just a basic triangular sort of zigzag across with another one underneath it, and then round the back just to break up the centre of this large bare looking brown jumper. So have a think about it, stick us in a message in the chat, and I'll quickly move on to the cap at the top and we'll do a bit of tidying up there, and then I'll come back down to the jumper. Yeah, working with hands is, I think, so working with hands is definitely going to be more satisfying. I think it's more difficult because with a digital copy, you can always go back. You can zoom in further than you could possibly. The potential for 3D printing and miniatures produced in different forms of whatever digital method, CAD, ZBrush, all the different ones, is nowadays always going to have the potential to produce a much more detailed model. And that's just a truth. And it's also easier to go back and correct any problems with the model. Try and get this in shot. Another truth is you can take said digital model and repose it a number of times, changing key components to save money, save time, because each physical sculpt has a cost value, and if it goes wrong or you need a second one, you go, yeah, that's great, but I'd like a squad of 5. You then have to do another set of 4. Whereas on a CAD design, they can go back in, take the original, and they've got a lot of it reworked already. And with a lot of the modern stuff, they can be reposed very easily. It's still time, don't get me wrong, Um, but yeah, the just the level of what you can do with a lot of the modern stuff now is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, me and my friends have had how many? 20, probably just over 30 models sculpted for something we worked on, and some of those, were any of them reposes? No, none were reposes, but we did have some that were posed not like we. So obviously we gave the brief, you fill out a perform, you send it off, and some of them were not quite the pose we wanted, and it was very easy for Raoul, the sculptor at the time, to just go in and manipulate through the software to repose the miniatures to how we'd wanted. Whereas if we'd have been sculpted, that would have been pretty much impossible. It would have been a resculpt from scratch. So it's time lost, more money, because more man hours having to be put into make those corrections, etc. Crazy times, yeah. We decided red on top or cream on top. You do handout in sketchbooks. Yeah, Jim does a lot of that stuff, as he says. Repurpose assets, yeah, again. Once you've done your master and it goes to mold, a lot of the time the masters are destroyed. So if it's a digital copy, the master is printed from a 3D printer. Mold broke open. During the break open process, the master is destroyed. If it's on you just print another one out. It's still cost. You know, you're talking probably a couple £100 for a human size model for most decent 3D print masters. But yeah, it's definitely a lot less than having to try and resculpt the same thing again and get it the same. So we just grayed out the cap a little bit. It's not exactly what I want at the moment, so it's probably going to get a null oil wash right now to take the edge off it again, but without taking it all the way to black essentially. So yes, I do use washes as well as contrasts. There's so many tools now for painting to help you out. It's brilliant. In fact, today I just got my 3D printers just come through that I ordered, so I'll be having a play with that. Unfortunately not this weekend because I've not got the time, but over the course of this week in the evenings I'll likely get that set up and print off some of the test pieces, and I think I've got a considerable amount of files built up now from a recent patron. In fact, March 1st to get some more, so we'll be giving that a go. What colour do we want the phone as well? The last one I did was white, so I think I'm going to do black on this one when we come to do that. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Print a gun. Not interested. I have one at work. Why would I print off a fake one? There is files now for it, isn't there? Right, I'm gonna go. Let me just picture this in my head. Is it red? No, we're gonna go a light colour top. So for my two colours for my little crazy jumper idea, which has no reason to be done and will add time for no reason, I'm just going to use base colours first and then lighten these two up. So corn red for the red and Zendri dust for the creamy colour, and we'll see how it goes. In fact, I can't remember wasn't there something in the news about? I think it's a few months back. Somebody printed a gun and took it somewhere that they shouldn't have, or is it illegal to even have a file to print a gun or not? Or is that just certain states again? It would screw up the gun industry, I suppose, if you could just print your gun at home. They'd have to have their STL files. They'd get hacked, and you know, it's like films and such. You'd just be able to get it from anywhere. Right, this is either going to go drastically wrong, or we're just going to start again, or on the jumper, not the whole thing. Trying to keep them fairly even, but at least try and follow the contours of the jumper as well. So when it's scrunched up, try and scrunch it up. This is what I imagine I'll be wearing in a couple more years. Jim, let me know if this is what you're wearing right now. Sorry, there's always going to be bants. Jim is a friend. I hope he doesn't take anything the wrong way. And if he does, then I'm not sure if he was ever in the military, because if you don't have a back and forth in the military... and he is more than capable of defending himself. Dennis the Menace. I remember that. That'd be red and black. That's a British comic, so now I know what country you're from anyway. Well, probably, because Dennis wasn't... Is that... I'm thinking... I think Beano. Is this the Beano version? Not Dennis as in the blonde Dennis that's Mr. Wilson. That is the next question. Are we US or UK? I'm thinking UK based on this pattern. Don't remember the other Dennis having it. Yeah, I thought so. UK. Certain elements can't be made. I'm not sure now, Jim, if I'm honest. I don't think they obviously have the lifespan, but for firing off 2 rounds, etc. Hey, we've all seen In the Line of Fire, the historically correct film with Clint Eastwood, haven't we? John Malkovich. John Malkovich? Yes, John Malkovich. I'd like to think we have, because I really enjoyed that film. Just realised I could have just painted this plane and we'd be a lot further along. That's cool. That means it finishes sort of in the armpit area, which means I don't have to try and force it into there. So, first line on. Quick clean of the brush. I'm going to let that one dry. Did I get punked again? No. Have you not been watching, Jim? You're not at work again, are you? What time is it there? 7, 6. Yeah, you're on lunch, aren't you? Probably on your lunch. So, just going to chuck some red on the palette. Get some water into it to thin it down just a touch. I need it to stay where I want it to move. That's the mistake I made with the white at the beginning. Above or below? Below or above? I'm tempted not to do any. I quite like that. You know what? I'm not. So the red would be too much of a contrast to what's there. So I'm not going to do the red, but I'm going to reinforce that one that's going round. I quite like that as it is, to be fair. It's always nice when you find these things out that make you less work when you've decided to make yourself more work. So we're just going to go back over it to sharpen it up. Yeah, I always go quiet when I'm trying to concentrate. Have I dropped a model while working on it? Yes, I've even punched one out of here the other day. And today I was doing a different model and I was painting the base. So because I was painting the rim of the base, I had it on this. In fact, I'll bring it into shot. Because I was painting the rim of the base black. So I had it on here like so. And yeah, it just fell off. It just went plop onto the ground. So I was painting around here, and because I thought I had it on that, just because I've been holding and I always use one of these. You normally hear me say balls is normally my term of choice when I make such a mistake. It occurs 2 to 3 times per video that we've done. Minimum. And yeah, I'm fairly consistent at needing to use that term during the videos. It's normally in relation to skin. But we have had other occasions as well. I've dropped paint pots on the floor next to me, luckily with the lid closed, because I have a real tendency to make sure that they're closed. What else have I done that I've screwed up? I've headbutted the camera a few times because my setup, the camera is literally in front of my face with a lamp just that side and a lamp just here as well. I've not sneezed into them yet. That's still to come. I've not tried that. We'll get to that at some point. Yeah, a lot more steady. I stick them to the coins because it has a level of tension in it. I've got a pack of these so I can do a squad at once. So I could do 5, for example. So I'll half a squad or a squad. It really helps. It does give you a lot of manipulation. You can pretty much... It's comfortable. It's because when you hold stuff that's narrow, like the coin, you sort of get cramp in your hand. So yeah, they are really good idea. There's different versions as well. There's some ones for professional painters out there that have sort of a frame as well. The frame sort of comes out of the side and comes up and over the model, and that way you can hold sort of like so with a finger supporting the top, and you can manipulate it more without risk touching the head of the model. You know, there's so much good stuff out there these days. It's not surprising because it's a big industry, but anything that helps with trying to keep you steady is so worth it. I could do with a decent back and a new pair of calves and legs to. I've got plenty of padding. Don't paint lines while laughing. That's my quote of the day. Stop laughing so you can paint lines. I'm not sure how to light this yet, or if I'm even going to bother. Might just do the jumper around it and let that give it the... Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Quick clean of the brush. So I want a brown to just bring up this jumper in places. It's quite a dark brown, that. So last time, I normally use Mornfang, but I think it might be... I might have to thin down a base colour brown. I'll thin this down and have a look at it. So this one is dried bark, and we'll do a little test area. This is dark brown, but it's got a good level of pigment. The green surprised me on the trousers. Maybe we're just having a surprise everywhere day today. We try colours that I don't think will work and end up do, which is even better because it opens up more options for future projects, future colour schemes. Cool. So all I've done is chucked it on the palette, threw a bit of water in, probably a third of the size. So I want somewhere that's easy to repair. I say repair, that's so basically if this screws it up, that we're not struggling to get in at a bad angle to somewhere. I just want to see how light it is. So I'm actually going to use the crook of the arm here because I can see already how light that is. So this, I've got a direct comparison next to another one. See how much this darkens it down. Yeah, that's too dark. So, but it's not as light as Mornfang, which is what I was worried about. So I'm going to grab a bit of Scar White. Sometimes I use greys, but this time I'm literally just going to get a dab on a clean brush. So not a lot at all. I'm going to chuck that in the brown. I'm going to put some at the side as well, just so I've got a controlling mechanism so I can lighten or darken it more if I need to. So I put a bit on the side away from the colour initially, and then ran the rest through the brown. Let's see how this one sits on it then. Yeah, I like that one more. That was light enough. We'll take that and we'll run with it. So we're just going to go for all the high points. The nice thing again with the contrasts, it does the work for me. One thing I'd struggled a lot with, and still do to be honest, and it's contrast that helps me not struggle with it, is the perception of where should be lighter than others. And you'll hear that on almost every video I do. The other good thing about this is we can just striate the bottom a little bit to give it that, how did Gaz put it earlier, that cricket referee jumper look. So you got that frilly bit at the bottom almost. If we just do it, we just literally just dab in with a small gap as we go along to give it a bit of a break as it goes round, and it will do some of the work for us. Once it's dry, it normally dries a bit lighter or darker, so that should have given time for the front to dry. Let me make sure. So yeah, we're good. Let's throw it into the light areas, which are a bit too light at the minute, and we'll see how it sits. Again, probably do the front of the jumper first and see how it goes. Cheers, Jim. Yeah, the details come out okay. Quite happy with that. The good thing now as well is where I have got it a little too thick here and there, and say for here there's a, let me see if I can get it on camera, there's a small dot literally just in there. It's just a little further out than any of the other colours are. So we're about to kill that. It's like so, with the brown that we've got here. So you can sort of re-straighten the lines again. Right, Ralph, how's it going, dude? I talked about you earlier, mentioning about us chatting about the different helmets for the White Dragon stuff, and you going with the para helms, and what I think I'm going to end up going with the Scrim dude. I couldn't remember, is it the Mark 6 or the Mark 7 helmet as the third option? Because we used both in theatre. In fact, we used the 6 Alpha, and the 7, and I can't remember what they've used on the minis. So Ralph's another member of the SitRep team. This is a good place to get information from. It's like a hub of us coming on to support each other, which is awesome. It's always good to support each other. So here, I want it to stay fairly dark, so I'm going to thin down more one corner of the brown, so it's a lot thinner and shows through the darker element. So although it'll look brighter when it initially goes on, it'll dry thinner, showing through the colour underneath, which is the darker brown. Sweet. We've got his jumper going on today, Ralph. His cricket tops, kicking it big style. Mark 6, there we go. See, I need Ralph, Jim, and the rest of the team. Everybody keeps me on track. On track, and sometimes telling the truth. It's amazing. So, up to the collar line. We've gone quite deep on the jumper there. Where I said I could be messy, I have been messy. That's cool. Nice crease through there. See, I've got to do a mobile phone again on this one. Like I said, I did the last one white. I'm thinking of black this time just because it, it makes sense to have a slightly different look on this guy. I didn't want the jumper just to be a jumper, so we've been dumb enough to add detail. Nice and basic, but it just breaks it up a little bit. Military dude, yeah. For my sins, quite a few of us in the SitRep team are. Jim's ex-military, G's ex-military, Marty's ex-military. I don't know if it's Chris. So there's a few of us kicking around. This is why, when it comes to weapon systems, not so much me, but some of the other team members, they have what they're talking about. AR-15, CG. Shotgun, C. Well, Marty and G, I think, both of them actually. I know G's got them because I fired them. She was kind enough to let me go and burn her ammo last time I was over. It was a trade-off. Ralph's not. It's alright, Ralph. We don't mind. You keep us on the straight and narrow still. We've got to have a civilian perspective as well. So nice and thick up here with the light colour. It's going to be a light spot because it's running all the way up the shoulder. There you go. Generational, that works. We were talking about that earlier about possibly looking into our own family generation history when it comes to military service and basing some games and projects on where your family served. So, World War II was it? Did you say, Dad? Fusilier. Ardennes, Northern Ireland. Nice. Plenty to go out there. So trying to be careful here now because there's some shadow here that I don't want to lose. But it's not straight line shadows, it's diagonal. We're quite close to the silly checkered line thing. There we go. Come away from that now, I can talk again. There you go. January 2nd Airborne, US Marine Corps, Chris Canadian Army. Mighty US guys, actually. Your Army, right? Yeah, I'm Army. I work on helicopters, but the Army runs the Apaches, the Lynx, the Wildcat, some Gazelle still. That's it currently. We used to run the Scout, and I think we had the Skeeter as well, which was piston engine, 4-cylinder. That's crazy when you look back at it. Absolutely crazy. You could be a vehicle mechanic and fix that one instead of an aircraft mechanic. '60s. Nice. That'd be something to look into, I think. It's not something I know a lot about, to be honest, dude. Again, that's a good opportunity to tie things in as well. Make it a bit more personable as well. It's personal. Cool. So we've tied up the jumper a bit. Still a little bit in that. So you can now see clearly I've left just that bit in that groove here. The old colour to the new colour. And the new colour's toned it right down, which I really like. We've got a couple of places on the back as well in the V's because we've not gone in there yet. So let's quickly do them first. So the plan is to do this today. Gym's on Sunday. I think I've got 5 minutes left. I'm really looking forward to the final one, which is like the leader of the group. It's one of the Spectre Miniature leaders. He's in a big sort of what I would call a puffer jacket, the ones that have got the ripples. So they're like, I'm thinking of going with like a really garish red. So, you know, look, I'm the leader jacket. So that's going to be really cool, really fun project. So we're saving it to the end. Tempted to put more time into him. Oh, we've got some links going on. Geordies. Why, I'm on chicken. Alright, pet. It's amazing how many Geordies there are in the army. I say amazing. It's not. It's probably average for military forces to have somebody from a certain neck of the woods in good numbers. Scousers, all sorts. Cool, so we're almost done with the jumper. Although we may end up coming back to it if I screw up the skin. Because I'll no doubt stick it on there, we'll have a choice word and we'll come back to it and sort it out. But let's just tidy up the shadows here. That one on the back of the collar. Just out of shot because that really helps. And into there. Flip it round and we'll do that last V that I left as sort of an example. Go back to the first V and do just the edge of the cuffs here, running down. And we'll keep the underside dark. Cool. Sweet, sweet, sweet. So he's got his awesome trainers on. Do like the trainers. This guy's got a really long inside leg, look. That jumper is almost a skirt. I've only just realised that. No, don't, that was bad. Yes, boss. Next. So we darkened down with the Norn oil on the hat, so that's come up really nice. Happy with that. It's going to need a slight highlight. So we will just going to grab some Mechanicum Grey. Now this is too light straight out of the pot for the highlight we're going to do on the, because we've darkened down with the Norn oil. So I'm just going to chuck a bit of a bad and black in with it. Oh, pop, it goes the weasel. So we've got a nice dark grey that's off black, and then I can bring it up with more grey if I need to. We shall see, mon frere, we shall see. Ooh, dragged it into some water. Let's get that off the brush. Start again. There we go. So peak of the cap would be lighter. Let's see if this is lighter. Not enough. Some more grey. Yeah, so this weekend's going to be a busy weekend for me. I've just finished a project. I'm going to drop the model off at a store for a little basic painting competition. It's my mate's mini that I've painted for him, but he's happy for me to use it. I've put like 20 hours into it, so it's nice to be able to use it for something like that. I'll actually maybe going down to that store tonight after I finish this, because the cut-off's at 12 tomorrow noon. So I'm going to have to go and drop it off tonight because I'm not around tomorrow. But Jim made me do one of these, so here I am. Pressured on me, man. I don't mind, I enjoy doing them. And it helps me get through the models that I need to do for 13 hours equal. No, this is G. She started saying it wrong and it's got it in my head now. Totally blame. 13 days equals 13 hours. See, I would have put 13 hours in 13 days. Is that because... I don't know. That's the way I would say it. I have no valid reason for it, but that is the way I would say it. So I'm just going to go along the brim of the hat. Now we've got it to a basic, nice little highlight colour. 13 days equals 13 hours. Yes, 13 hours in 13 days. I don't know. Don't know. Don't know. I'm not the boss. I just paint models now and again and try not to screw up too much. Cool, so we've got some highlights now. We just need to basically go back to the center of the cap and do just the first bit of the quarter thicker again, so that there's a bit of transition. I'll probably do that a third time as well. We're just bringing the colors up a little bit at a time. When you do the next layer, it doesn't show through the color underneath as much, so it looks a little lighter. You can always just make it a bit lighter as well, but sometimes the jump is too much. I mean, these are just for tabletop, so we're just trying to get them to a good standard for going on camera on tabletop. A tabletop standard, sorry. Hopefully they might get used at a show or two, you know, with the guys doing demos and such. That'd be really cool. Really cool. Cool, so we set a black phone. I'm going to do the phone first because the coverage of the fingers and the skin is what I've got next. And that should be a bit easier. But first of all, because we used this cream colour against the brown of the jumper, I want some stronger highlights on the sweeps here. So I'm going to use that one with the brown and see what we get. Hopefully it's not drastically wrong. But the brown's already dead. So I need back to the dried earth. Where are you? Dried earth, dried bark. I handle Sundays. That's not all you do. You paint as well, dude. I've seen your rack stuff and the video you did. That's cool. 1991, wasn't it? Desert. You did quite a large force as well. Hey, you designed all the stuff for the transit game and the rules and such. So we've done the brown. Do a little bit of white because I want it back to. I'm using the palette area that I used before. It wasn't dried out. It's just I'd used it. Wet palettes are like that. They don't really dry out, but when you've used it all, it still doesn't help having a wet palette. So I've got it back to the brown that should be the same consistency as the jumper is currently. And we're going to chuck in a little bit of Zandri. And I say a little bit so I can see just on an edge that it doesn't change pigment. It's got the same core colour. Yeah, it has. It's got the same base colour. Some stuff will have sort of the base of reds, blues and greens. So they won't take well when they're mixed with the one of the other varieties, shall we say, that's based on a different colour. Sweet. Right, let's see what this looks like. Yep, that'll work. It's just light enough to see under the light. It might not be light enough to see once I get it out from under these high sort of these good lamps. Well, they're not good lamps, they're just lamps, but it's a focused light point, so it makes things look a lot better than they are sometimes. He said. Bring it down to the bottom and across. So the game, I imagine, will take quite a while to play through on and off, because the transit game there's the main game with miniatures on a board. There's a transit game back if they one get there, to survive. Depends, how dedicated to killing everybody off Jim's been with his rule set, because there's definitely the possibility they might not even get there, from what I understand. That'd be a quick game. We'll have to just straight into a replay. Around the neck, top of the sleeve, switch sides to the top of this one. Sweet. Skoback's already got me signed up to do Cold War as well for miniatures, so that's another one that we're going to start looking into, I think, guys. Just doing some random painting of different periods, different militaria. We talk about doing sort of picking an era and painting up one of each of the forces just as an example. Just to tabletop standard, I think, is probably the best way to do it. Although that's a question for the community. Do you want the odd one that's done to the best that we can do as a team? I'm not saying it's going to be ridiculously good, but it should be better than tabletop. Because we could look at that as well. Cool. I need to get into that cuff. But the good thing is, if it's something you enjoy, we're going to seasick mode where we just keep spinning models. Jim will be used to that being a Marine. What scale? Oh, I must have missed something. This guy, Charlie Brown. Exactly! That might be what influenced me, let's be honest. And why wouldn't it? That's such a good thing to have to influence you. Charlie. What scale's Charlie Brown? I'm not sure. I have to measure them on the newspaper. Just literally got onto the bit I didn't want to. So licking and sticking and trying to get it off again now. Which is done. Take a bit for repair. And repair is done. You're always going to make mistakes. That was a balls moment, so we'll have a balls announced. Balls. And we can move on. I think the jumper is done. We have a complete jumper. The cap is not bad at all. All it needs now is a little more grey to the original, not the original, the last colour we put on. We're going to bring it up a little more for a final highlight. And then we'll jump into skin. Skin and skin and skin. Slip me some skin, brother. From years gone by. Which was the same as giving you a 5, from what I understand. Okay. So we're going to just run the edge. And feather it a little bit. So let's do a little bit near the bottom, just around the lowest part initially. Then we'll go up to the top quarter like we did and just bring that so it looks like it's got light at the top center. And this one's just sort of showing the lower rim of the cap, which would be the widest point catching light as well. Yeah, make sure we're in. It happens now and again where I stop and make sure that I'm in shot. Now and again. Cool, so that's that bit done. No Dark Star. Oh, it's chilling this weekend. That's cool. So I'm going to thin this colour down even more for this final bit on the top of the hat, because I don't want too much. Let's get some excess off. We're just going to paint the top sort of triangle without going all the way down. Yeah, so this is my club weekend, and tomorrow's club is actually an all-dayer, so it starts at 12, finish at midnight. And normally we do a recording, and I would miss that, and I've been missing it for quite a while. So the fact that I think we're not recording tomorrow, I say think, I know we're not, is awesome. Oh, I was about to jump into the actual skin, but we have a mobile phone to do. So halt check 1, 2, about turn, and pick up that white. Let's have a look at white. I said black this time, didn't I, for phone? Black phone. With us doing black, I think the easiest thing is just to jump straight in with the black contrast, which is black template. Just going to move that around. It's already white, so it should show through the corners quite well without us needing to do a lot of work to it. Screen will be a bit, not sure what we're going to do with that yet. Mobile phones are not something you paint on miniatures very often. Very few miniatures carry a mobile phone. Strange when you think how many people actually do these days. I suppose moderns would be the only ones, with most miniature ranges being fictional or historical to the point where mobile phones weren't a thing. So let's get all this on first. Try and be careful with fingers. I'm going to be painting them anyway, but there's no point in just slapdashing it everywhere if I don't have to. Well, there is, because it's fun, but then I have to sort it out again after. Yep, again, some right unusual hand positions. And I use fingers to rest against fingers. I'm probably quite good at them cat's cradles that, kids do. Is it cat's cradles? They make it out of string and stuff. Or is that not a thing anymore. Might be showing my age. Still the youngest, that's all that matters. Cool. So we've got some black on. We'll leave that alone for now. Put that back. Let that dry. And back to a bit of the base colour for the skin. This is pretty much a tried and tested method to try and keep the guys of a similar ethnicity, but allowing no fixed recipe, so that sometimes the skin tones are lighter, sometimes are darker. It is a nice and easy layer system. Bugman's Reikland Flesh Shade, then Cadian Flesh Tone, and Kislev Flesh, I think it is, yeah. And just mixing them. So go from 1 to 50-50 to the next, to 50-50 to the next. It just, you can get most of what you want out of that, unless you're looking to be entering painting competitions and stuff, then maybe you want to be thinning it down more and doing more layers. So the hand is showing here at the pocket, and I think what we're going to do with the pocket itself there, I might just run some known oil around that to blacken it out a bit. We shall see. We shall see. How are we doing for time today? 25 past 7 here, starting at 6, so an hour and a half. So most of these have been taking me about 2 hours to 2:20, 2:30, except for when I have a frigging mouth that I couldn't do the other day. That was really annoying. And that took me a fair chunk longer. Again, faces. They break me, really do. I'm not very good at them. As I've found with the model I finished today as well. But, you know, the more you paint, the better you get. You just look it up a bit, do a bit of research, find out what works, what doesn't, have another go. I've been looking at a company called Mia's who do miniatures, and they cover a lot of stuff that I'm quite interested in at the minute, with us looking more to history. They have things that would easily approximate to the Iceni, which is an old British tribe, probably best known for Boudica, to be honest, and her chariots with scythes upon their wheels. Or so the legend goes. Who knows what they actually were? Could have been reeds for all we know. But yeah, it's they have some Legionnaire stuff. They have all sorts. We're really spoilt now. We've opened up to sort of military history and history, to what we can have a mooch. I'm just finding reasons to buy models that I like and relating them to. Because you always need more models. That's right, isn't it? Is that a truth? That's a truth, isn't it? You can never have too many models, even if you never paint them in your lifetime. I don't think that's a thing anymore, as long as you play with them now and again. Building them's a pain, because I can't leave mold lines alone, normally. Cool. I think, no, just inside the thumb as well. Not enough on the brush. There we go. Thumb is done. Rasmus, how's it going, man? I listened into the HK the other night. You guys were doing quite well. You'd set up in the base and everything by the time I left. Unfortunately, I had to call it a night a little earlier than the session finished, so I don't know how it actually finished because I've not got back to it yet. I would watch it while painting, but there'd be an echo. You'd hear your own voice talking back to yourself. Oh, that's cool. It's just managed to squeeze in a little view over lunch. I've been watching Ragnarok, buddy, a new series on Netflix. I quite like it. It's a bit of a slow burn, and that really suited me. I was in the mood for a slow burn TV series. I want to say it's almost a teen series, but it's not Twilight. It's very different. Oh, has he got hair? No, it's another one without hair. I'd love it when they just have a little bit of texture sticking out so I can do some hair, but there's a lot of these guys, you know, own their own sets of clippers at home, so they keep it high and tight and as short as you like. Or the older gentlemen, or it might have burned off in other uprisings. Who knows? But there's a fair few of them don't have hair. Might be a stress thing. I missed the dungeon crawl. I left at when they'd found the entry point. I left when I think 2 of them had gone down and you started mapping or revealing the map for the... Because I liked how you did that. For what was underneath. So I've got to come back to that. That'll be a tomorrow job. Definitely. When is the next one anyway? Get his jowls in. We need to get them the right sort of shape and consistency. Look a lot similar to mine. Sunday, a week. Cool. Still in theatre 2 days in. Nice. I remember 2 days in. You're still sweating your ass off or freezing, depending what time of the year you'd arrived. And you were on RSOI. Going through all the standard stuff where they tell you all the stuff that you'd done in preparation to come was pretty much not worth having done, and do it this way instead. I always like the medic briefs, the practical ones. My favourite one was when a guy took a permanent marker to a bloke to show people how large the organs actually are on his body, which meant it would have probably been on there for a good month. Yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing when he did that. And I can appreciate that, being a squaddie. March 8th, there you go. In stone. Unless it changes. 2 BC. Subject to change. STC, we'll go with that one. It's a military thing, we're always subject to change. Or deployment. So I'm just trying to be careful now on the collar a little bit. He says as he realises he missed a bit in the mouth as well. And I think I've got to repair on the other side and put some brown back in. But this side, the top of his ears are... Wow, he needs to wash the top of his ears. This guy, they're almost black. Strange that when you've painted in the colour. Who paints the top of their ears black? Me, apparently. That's how I identify my miniatures when I'm looking down at them on the table. I'll go with that. Just want to get some shape in the neck there. Sorry, I had to pull that one in a bit closer. I couldn't see it properly. Cool. So, yes, that was a balls, but that was a deliberate one for a change, which is very rare. Very, very rare. I'm just going to grab some brown, because when I was doing the skin, I've just crept onto the collar line here. So I'll get rid of that, which we have. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Right, let's have a look at this screen. What am I going to do for that? I think a light grey. So the grey we're using to highlight the cap, I'm just going to grab a bit of that to see if this is light enough to offset a screen of sorts. There we go. It's just a basic start point. You don't really need it to be anything special because, again, this is to tabletop standard. Just trying to get the shape so it makes sense. Cool, cool, cool. What I'll probably do with that then is, now I've got the base grey down, go a bit lighter to a corner, a bit lighter to a corner, a bit of white here and there, and that should give an indication that it's a touch screen. Thanks, not this. Like those Blood and Plunder Pirates pics posted on Discord. Back to the skin then. So, I'm going to chuck on a Rifle and Flash Shade now. This will go on the hands and the, well, everything really. I don't know why I'm explaining individual components. The flesh will be flesh shaded. Not flechetted, because that's not nice. That's a capability of the Apache, among other aircraft. And yeah, that leaves a mark, among other things, such as small metal needles everywhere. So put a good layer on, trying to make sure it's definitely into the recesses. So I'm making sure it's pooling in certain places, as you can see here. You can always go back after and take away if you find it's got too much in there. But bear in mind, we're going to be going back to Bugman's just to bring up the next layer will just be Bugman's again, to bring it back from the flesh shade before we go to Cadian flesh tone, and if needs be, I doubt we will, but maybe Kislev. It definitely won't be a pure Kislev if we do, it'll just be a mix with the Cadian flesh shade. So, short and sharp, let's get around him. Get him beyond the ears. We want the ear actually nice and dark, so we've got a reference for that. I have no idea what Jim and Rasmus are on about, but it may be a HK thing. It's a boys club thing. Oh no, there's girls as well. Let's not paint it in the wrong light at all. Say girls, ladies. Into the ear, and around the ear. Pull it across the back of the neck. Make sure it goes up behind the ear and above the ear. We've got it into the eye area. We have. Just going to make sure it's a bit heavier in there. This is what we said about making sure it's where you want it to be. The mouth showing. Oh, we've even got a dimple on the chin. That's a nice sculpt. I like that. Do like that. I just love these trainers. I just can't get over how they come out like that. That's definitely going to be my combo for trainers. Right, so quickly the brush. Unfortunately, that doesn't dry as quick as the Bugman's, so we're going to have a quick look back at this phone. So we've got that grey that we were using. I'm just going to grab a smidge of white, as you do, smidge, and throw it in. Yes, that's just brought it up just a little bit, so I don't want to go too far too fast. So this time, I don't want to do the whole thing. I'm just going to essentially speckle up to the top corner, down towards the centre of the hand, back across, so I've got that L shape, and then sort of just diagonal between the two. And I'm not, that's it, that is literally it. Then I'm going to grab more white, because that's still wet now, so we can do a bit more, and it won't affect it, because it'll essentially either sit separately or become a wet blend. Either way works for us. So again, we've lightened it up, take the excess off, make sure we've got some on the tip, and we're going to start again, top left, come across, down, L shape. This time we're not going to go quite as far across diagonally, so we're just going to do this corner, like so. Cool. That's that one done. Oh, I'm well behind in the chat. A Fred flashback coming your way. I think you mean on the guy's phone. The Mini. Ralph for the win. Looks like the Mini's taking a selfie. It does look like the Mini's taking a selfie. He may well be. So I'm going to grab a bit more white into that grey. And I'm going to put a second white aside as a separate piece now so that I can do a final edge bit with the white on its own. So we'll lighten this one up again, which we have. Got it nice and thin. On the brush, off the brush, tip in. Has it got stuff on? It has. So we're doing the L thing again. You can see now it's stands out a lot more. A bit too much on the brush. Let's take some off. Push it back to where I want it to be. Push it across to where I want it to be. Let's go a bit higher in that corner. There we go. And then across the diagonal. There we go. Then straight into, take the excess off with my mouth, straight into the white. Literally just a small L at the top. So yeah, we've got some colour there to the screen. I'm going to darken down that bit above his thumb because that's just not quite fitting with the overall theme. The good thing is I've got all the stages here, so I'm going to pick one of the middle grey stages for that. And as we just did with the other end, so we're on a darker grey now. Just going to bring that down towards his thumb, like so, and around the tip of his thumb. Cool. Which put us just into, slightly into this area here. So I've gone back to the lighter one, the lighter grey. There we go. So we've sort of got a reflection that you can see there almost. Makes it look like it's got at least some form of screen. Again, I wouldn't be able to take it much further with where I'm at painting wise myself. The only thing I might do is add something that makes it look glossy. But essentially it looks like he's on some sort of phone that's got a screen, which is what we're after. It's a nice little visual. Terrace Tinder. Well, Tarot Tinder, eh? Maybe Tarot Tinder. Might be getting his fortune told, deciding whether to join the fight or not. So we're back into the Bugmans, and we're going to finish off with just rattling around the flesh. For those of you that have been here many times, which there are a few in the chat, you know exactly the routine now. It's tried and tested for me. Just going to ramp up basically from the flesh tone that we've put on, the flesh shade from Reichland, straight into Bugman's Glow, then mix in some Cadian flesh tone. Tone or shade? Tone. Yeah, it's Cadian flesh tone. Bring that one up, then get to pure flesh tone and see if I'm happy that that's as light as I want to go. If not, then we'll add some Kislev to that pure flesh tone and we'll go from there. So not long left on this one. How long left? Whoa, an hour and 44. I think this is the closest I've been to doing it in the actual 2-hour time slot that I kind of set myself. I've just thought, I don't know if I logged the last medal that I painted on the hours or not. Jim will be mad at me if I haven't. I'm sure he'll tell me shortly. Been slacking that I have. So we're just doing the lobe of the ear and up the inside edge and the top. I've come up across the cheekbone just to bring it up a colour. Down towards the jaw. Left the bit sort of just in front of the ear. He's got a lovely dimple that we can see there, like a half moon or an upside down frown. I was about to say half moon upside down. Let's go with the upside down frown. Not quite a pinpoint one like old Paul Kirk had before he passed. It was legendary dimple. Let's go across the nose again. Just gonna start off towards the nose but come out towards the cheek and up towards the temple. Then back down towards the chin. This time I just want to get that top lip because he's got this is actually one of the better faces that we've had in all the models that I've painted up to yet. I've got a clearly defined top lip, clearly defined chin. It's very nice. So we'll make good use of it if I can, or at least use of it. Up to the cheekbone, make sure we've got the nose on this side, we're good. Yep. So now we're looking at the neck and the ear on the opposite side. Speaking down to the bottom, more on the brush, still more on the brush. There we go. So I'm just going to define the jaw a little bit where it ends. And I've just come in towards the ear but left a bit above, like we said, in front of the ear again. Just using the tip of the brush to feather around the ear lobe and the ear shape. I'm going to come off the neck from diagonally down because there's a line here that is really nice, like almost like a muscle or a fold of fat. But it looks good. Onto the neck. A little bit behind the ear but not too close, so we keep that shading. Back of the neck's nice and clear, so just the cap essentially would give the shadow here. We'll just work up there. I want to keep there's almost like a bump that you have sometimes at the bottom, towards the bottom, or at least some of us have. So I'm going to try and just emphasize some dark areas there to give it some texture, but without being unnatural, he says. Leave a little bit of a gap there so you can see the darkness of the curve. And then he really has got a fatter neck this side. Maybe he's got a bit of, what do they call it, inflamed glands? Might have one gland, might have been bit by a spider. Hopefully it's not a radioactive one because he might become a superhero. He might have 8 times the strength of a normal man, or whatever he had. Climb walls would be a pain as well, chasing him. Okay, so we're cool with that. He's actually a good skin tone, almost at that, to be fair. What do you guys think? He's pretty good as is. I think we're going to leave him at that. I really like that face. That is one of the nicest faces. I've struggled so much on the other model that I've just painted because the face didn't have the detail I needed to find where stuff was. This one definitely is a lovely sculpt. It's part of the MENA series, so was it Middle East, North Africa? I'm just going to emphasize up a little more here and there. Nicely, I don't have to paint the eyes because he's under cap and we didn't want to go that far for what is the tabletop game. Yeah, he's a nice mini. Do like this mini. Do like this mini. Well, I'm actually surprised it's sort of finishing 12 minutes before it's meant to. Some places, fingertips need touching up. I've not done my once over yet. I always find at least one thing to do, which I'm kind of doing now by just looking at these hands and just going over the whole model, making sure everything's in the right place and such. Libya poop game. These are the apps we need to paint on his phone face. No. No and no. How about no? How about hell no? If you're not sure if I'm mincing my words or you're not sure of the message I'm trying to send, no. No, 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 no. No. And no. You guys are crazy about what you want. Back of the ears. Yeah, just need to get the highest point really. That is a very nice mini. I still love them trainers. She's going to be snipping off these bases so that she can put them on the clear acrylic ones. So That's why I'm able to leave it quite messy down there. What I do think though is, see the inside being really bright around that edge? I'm going to dull that down by going back to the contrast. It's a white now as well, whereas before it was a cream. So this white, this contrast, I'm going to actually thin down and just make sure that they're not as stark as they are. Let's put that on the palette. While that's just settling, I'm just going to have a quick turn around the Mini. Make sure we didn't miss anything too obvious, such as here, where we've a we, well, there is no we, where I have just overdone the Bugman's glow layer to the skin and caught the jumper. And we're going back to repair that in a second. Cool. There we go. Let's clean the brush. So I'll grab some brown quickly. Jump in on that. Like so. And check the rest of the Mini. I think I might just define the screen with a bit of the darker colour. So it's got a nice square edge to it. And that might be this one done roughly on time, if not on time. I'm still trying to drag it out because I shouldn't finish on time. I never finish on time. It kind of freaks me out. It's like I've not done something. I'm going to run the edge of this with the lighter brown just to give a hard contrast, a hard highlight. Why? Because it's quite a defining feature. His hand's up, so it's going to be pointing towards, I say the enemy, but the enemy's not going to care if he's got a highlight around his wrist or not, I suppose. Sweet. Yeah. Crazy times. Crazy times. Right, yeah. Well, let's have a look at that phone. Let's get the bit of a bad and black. I'm just going to chuck it onto the palette. Bring it up a little bit with the grey. Just get some water in that. Like so. Grab the grey, chuck it in. Bit more black. You haven't done the phone apps. You guys are really funny. No. I'm the one with the snow 5 to 6 inches overnight. Oh! Somebody asked me earlier if I ever knocked a model off. I definitely just knocked it over, but luckily it didn't fall off. So I was going to try and read and talk and laugh and stuff at the same time. There is no morale meant to be in miniature painting. That's not true at all. So I'm just trying to do a hard line to give it a neat edge, so to speak. So we've got no wishy-washy sort of areas where the grey and the white have crept about, which they have. So this is needed, in my opinion. Move it in a little bit. I'm just using the edge of the brush rather than the tip. And then into there, I'll have to use the tip and then come back to the edge. Again, just the edge. Cool. So that's made it a lot squarer. Let's give it that hard black edge, which I wanted. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Well, peeps. An hour and 54 minutes in. My first model ever finished in 2 hours. I would normally just do a bit more on the face, but I'm really happy with it. If you're happy with it, which is really rare, don't do nothing with it. We broke up the jumper. We gave it just a really basic, you know what? The basic line's fine, but because I haven't got an edge running all the way along it, like a black edge. So we're going to take the black, it's not a black, it's a very, very dark grey. And this could be stupid. We'll see if we can just run a line. on the underside just to punch it up a bit, because it does just look like it's been painted on rather than what it would on a jumper, so to speak. Hey, Laughing Boy. Looks like you got the end, but hello model looks great. Cheers, dude. Welcome, welcome in. So just literally trying to define the stupid zigzag thing. I decided to do in it a little more by putting a darker colour under the zigs and the zags. Yeah, there's plenty of people in here. Getting your hobby on for the weekend, hopefully. I'm not breathing much while I try and do these lines. So yeah, already it's started to define that underside, which I really like. So yeah, we'll do this around the whole thing. At some point, I'm definitely going to screw this up. If it's out of camera shot, I'll take that as a nice easy screw up rather than a paint one. Let's switch to the opposite side. Always try and move the model to where you want it to be so it's comfortable to paint is definitely a good piece of advice that I got years ago. Because if you try and do it in somewhere that's uncomfortable, you're likely to screw it up. Likely. Almost certainly in my case. In the military, they tell you to move your head around the rifle, not your rifle around your head. That's how you keep your teeth and stop the iron sight bouncing off the side of your head. It's quite good advice, strangely enough. It's entertaining advice when you don't get it, you see somebody else make that mistake. Cheers, buddy. Yeah, I think the black edge just does help separate it just a little bit from the rest of the jumper. You definitely, if you look at the back now, which is kind of just the flat colour, in comparison to the front that's had the edge in, it feels a stronger line of colour. It feels more like it should be there, rather than just an afterthought from Gaz when he figured a brown jumper was pretty boring. Problem is I've run out of black. Right, jump on there. Chuck that on the palette. Grab a bit of the grey again from before. Bring that up. Nice. Cool. So, deep breaths, get settled, get in a good position again. Make sure it was on camera. Well, personal favourite. Make sure it's on camera, guys. I don't know if I've done 3 today or not. You guys probably know better. I've been looking at the model more now. They tend to be not too bad these days. This will be it. Famous last words when I check. Well, I don't check the videos back if I'm honest. No point in telling fibs. So that's One Direction, not the band. Wow, it's firing up now. Absolutely a regular listener. Need to get his own stream up and running again. Yeah, I mean, I remember watching you, dude, doing the openings and getting the loot crates and stuff through. You had some really nice stuff going on. Yeah, that back garden setup you've got is lovely. I am definitely going to be coming down at some point this summer. It'll probably be when you're not there, so I can rob all your stuff. But, you know, if stuff goes missing, now you know who to come and ask for it. I'll sell you it back cheap. Cool. So that's that side done. Just do the top, and I think we're pretty much there for a 2-hour session. No, not comfortable. So reset. Rebuild that firing position if you're not comfortable. Cheers, buddy. Definitely my next personal project is going to be a kill team for Deathcore Krieg. So I'll, if that's something, we'll have to find out what you've got. I've got some Flames of War. Talking. Water on the brush. Let's grab that. Pull it away. Spread it up. Make a crease out of it. Happy days. So I'm going to darken that down with a bit of brown. Nothing's impossible to repair. You can just literally go back in and sort it out at the time. Stuff dries so quick under your lamps as well. So if it does happen, don't fret. Just try and get some water on it and go from there. Okay. Let's go back in. We'll go from the bottom this time. Cool. Switch direction. Not one direction now. We're in switch direction mode. Yeah, it definitely has made a difference. And there. Oh, just missed a bit on the corner of the cap. I'll use one of the greys. Sweet. Flip it around. So look at that. Yeah, that's cool. Very, very happy. So, what time was it? So I have gone over by 1 minute-ish, but we have another model ready to join the militia that will be attacking in our 13 days equals 13 hours game. We are happy. We've got a mobile phone. This one's not armed. He's got his dad's jumper on. He looks like a dad, so it's a very old jumper. We rocked him up some green trousers, more like lightweight trousers, so not quite military. It's weird on the camera. You could mistake it for almost a blue. We gave him a dark cap and stuck a mobile phone in his hand. We put some lighting onto it to give it some form of a screen. And my favourite today was the finding that grey as an undercut for the trainers, and then you put a really thin layer of white on, and they really come out nice. So I'm really happy with that. So overall, it's been a good session. Cheers, Jim. Thanks for the cheers, Laughing Boy. Thanks for the positives. Yeah, I'm really happy with this one. I think that leaves me, where am I at? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. I think I'm at 9, so 4 to go. So 2 more normal guys, and then the 2 that I'm really looking forward to. The one with sort of the twisted hair, short dreadlocks, and the leader of the group, which has got a cap and a big jacket on. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'll have to sit down and really look at what colours I want for those guys. So that's me. I'm now going to head off, get a brew, and then head to my local store to drop in a mini for a painting comp that finishes at 12 tomorrow. Luckily they're open tonight, otherwise I've have to gone down on a busy Saturday day. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Glad to have some guys in the chat. Nice to see you all. So cheers to everybody that came on. Yeah, looking forward to doing the next miniature. Jim's on Sunday. The date's in the chat if you didn't see it before, and if not, check out the Sit Rep podcast Facebook page and you'll see the advertisement for it. He's doing the 75th anniversary of Iwo and that's going to be a bit epic. So check it out and have a good one. Look after yourselves, and here's a quick chat from Blacksite Studio, our sponsor. Without them and yourselves as patrons, we'd struggle to achieve what we do and put on the painting tutorials and the game stuff that we do. So a big thanks to them, a big thanks to you, and I'll see you again.
Are you looking to become a Tier 1 operator in the gaming world? Elevate your games with Blacksite Studio Terrain.